Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi, and that's a new tip tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. This time we'll see how to work with the self-illuminated mesh to create custom light, custom shaded light inside our scene. We'll use Mental Ray. You see that I prepared a really simple scene. I have a plane that is 1 meters for the length and the width, and I have 4 teapots. Really simple scene. Um, Now the first thing we have to do for the moment, we can use an Omni light just to make the basic illumination for the scene, and we can prepare some shaders. We have to check that we have Mental Ray, and we're setting all the parameters, and I have to remove all the stuffs we'll use later. Okay, perfect. We can use the material editor, and I can prepare a shader for the plane, and I can call it table, and we use an Arcan design, and we can use a glossy varnished wood, a preset. I apply it. I go inside the diffuse texture, and we set it's visible inside the viewport. And then we have the 4 teapot, and for the teapot we can use a ceramic shader. We call it ceramic. Okay, and we'll use an Arcan design. We can use a glazed ceramic preset, and I can assign it. Now if I try to render the scene, it will be really simple. You see we have the glossy wood, and we have the teapot. Let's change the color for the ceramic, so let's use white, and let's set tone the shadows. Okay, so this will be a basic illumination test done with a standard light, but it will be interesting to see how it works if we use, for example, a tubular neon. And to create a realistic tubular neon, we can modeling the tube. So let's use a cylinder like this one, and let's move it there. Okay, and there. Now we need to set off the Omni light to have no light inside the scene, because we'll use the mesh, the tubular mesh, to illuminate the environment. So let's select the Omni, and let's set to off. So you see we have no lighting inside the scene. You can go inside, smoothen and highlights, lighting and shadow, illuminate with the full light, so we have lighting inside the viewport. Okay, let's go there, and let's go to full screen. Let's set to show save frame, and we can move it near the camera. Okay, now to illuminate it, we have to create an Arcan design. So custom light, I call it, and we use an Arcan design, and for the moment we can set the color to white. Okay, and we can say matte finish, so we have no specularity and nothing else. Then we have to go inside the self-illumination glow section, and you see that we have all the stuffs and all the parameters we need to create the illumination. So we set to on the self-illumination glow, and you see that we have lighting now, and I assign it to, and actually we can use the basic settings, and I can go there inside the rendering, and I can try to render a test, and you see that we have just this tubular self-illuminated, and we have just a reflection over the table. So to make the illumination, we have to set to on the final gather, and you see that if I try to render, we have no lighting. because we have to go inside the glow option, and you see we have the visibility and reflection, that is okay, but we have also the illuminate the scene when using Final Gather. So actually we can illuminate the scene using this tubular, but we have to set the power. So I created the scene using the right unit measure, so we can go to physical units, and we have CD by meter by square meters, so we can see if it's okay or not. And you see that we need more power. Let's try with 5000. Let's try to illuminate. You see that we start to have some kind of illumination, and let's go to 50,000. And let's start also to change the parameters. So let's go, we're inside a room, so we can use, for example, 4 diffuse bounces and medium. And you see that we start to have illumination inside our scene. It is really grainy, but that's just about the Final Gather precision. So for example, we can use let's go also to the exposure control, and let's add a mental ray photographic exposure control, and let's set to indoor nighttime, and we have 200 film speed ISO, and we can go back to the illumination to use a more real illumination value. So let's go back to 1000.5. Let's make a render test. Okay, and you see that actually it's really blocky illumination, so we can go back to a less luminance. So let's try with 500. And actually you see it's a little bit better, but we have a really strange illumination, so we have to work on it. So we can use, for example, 200 to have less light, and we can go back to 2 diffuse bounces, and let's check. Oh, sorry, I have to close it. Let's check a render test, and we have to start using a higher value for the Final Gather. You see we have a really bad Final Gather, so let's select this area for the rendering, and we can start to go to the high, and let's check a test. And you see that obviously it will be slower than before, but the Final Gather will be better, more precise. Let's wait for the rendering, and you see that it's better, but actually it's not so good. So the next preset will be very high, but it will be too high. So we can start, for example, setting to 2.0 the initial Final Gather point density, and 2000 the rates for Final Gather points, and we can use, for example, 150 the interpolate our number of Final Gather points. And let's try to make a render test. It will be again slower than before, but let's wait for the rendering. You see that we have also the shadows for the mesh just using the Final Gather. And we can use, for example, also an ambient light, because you see we have completely dark area over the mesh because we have no ambient light inside this scene. And let's wait for the for the final gather calculation. We are using a very high value for the final gather, so it's really slow actually. We can try also to find a better compromise, so maybe we can go lower with the final gather resolution to find a good way to have fine lighting, and you see that we have a really precise lighting, so it can be a really good compromise. Actually, we can go maybe a little bit back. You see that to have more precise shadows there and there, we need, for example, to have higher value for the rays for per final gather point, but it will be too slower. So let's try to have 1000 and half for the rays, and we can go inside the shader and we can use the ambient occlusion, so we'll have a better shadows for the teapot. And let's make another test render. It will be a little bit faster, and then we can add the last little thing to the render to make the tubular light more precise. You have also to imagine that we can use different color for the lighting and different, for example, also maps to decide the area that will emit light or not, and then we see a fast test. So you see that the final gather is faster than before, and we hope to have a really smooth result in the final rendering. Okay, I think that it can be okay, and we have also the final gather, so it can be a really good compromise. So let's go back and let's use 150 just to make some tests, and we can go inside the renderer and we can set on the output glare, and let's see how it works. Let's change to view and let's make a test. Obviously the quality for the final gather will be really low, but actually I'm just interested to see the glare effects, to have some kind of glow and a halo over the tubular neon. Okay, you see that we have it. It's really too high, but we can select the shader and we can copy it as an instance in the material editor. We can say to have maximum quality 4, and we can start to make a test again just for this area. And you see that it's really high, and we can change the spread to 1, so we have less glow outside the tube, and you see that actually it's really better. Maybe we can try to have 0.75, and you see we have a really interesting look for the glare. And let's go back And let's go inside the material, and let's see how it looks if we change, for example, the filter color. We can use for the coloring all the lamp we have inside it there, and you see that we have a lot of preset. And for example, we can use this one, the phosphor mercury, and let's go there, and let's say that we'd like to render everything, and let's see how it changes. The color is actually white because the phosphor mercury will be white, but we have complete control over the coloring, so we can create really realistic lighting. You see, actually this hot as illumination. Okay, and that's our look, and you see it seems really realistic, and we have the possibility to change the filter. So for example, we can give a more green effects, and let's make it just for half the image. Let's render it so we can see the differences between the two area. And you see that we have some green colors inside our image, and I can make the same stuffs using another kind of color, for example something near blue, and I'm using the basic color coming from the preset, and I'm using also the filtering using a custom color. Okay, and we can see how it works if we change it using, for example, an halogen. And let's go to the filter to white. Let's see how it change using a different preset. There are little differences between this kind of lighting and the previous one, but you see that we have changes to the light. But we can use also the Kelvin coloring system to control the temperature. So for example, let's use 15,000, okay, and let's see how it works. And then we go to a very low value for the Kelvin temperature, and you see that it's really warm. And on the other hand, if we use, for example, 2000 and half, and we can render this area, you'll see that it's really hot as temperature for the colors. So you see you have complete control over the coloring system for our image, and it's really interesting. Now we can move forward and we can see how to use the filtering to control the illumination over the tube. So let's go to the standard, let's use 6000 and half, and let's use a gradient ramp. Okay, let's close it, and let's close. Okay, let's make it visible. We can rotate it, and you see that we have the lighting there, and we can say that we'd like to have, let's remove this one for the moment, and we have black and black, so we have no light there and no light there, and then we have white and white, so we have some area over the lamp with no light, and then some area with lighting. and that will be really similar to a tubular neon because we have the lighting in the middle. So let's go back and let's try to make a test render just for the neon. Let's render it, and you see that actually is too wide. And let's try to have less luminance, so let's try with 20, and you see that we have light coming more after. So let's use something like that, black and black. Let's render again, and you see that we have light coming more later. Okay, so we can change the spread. So let's go back to 2, maybe less, 1 then half. Okay, it's better, so we have the light coming later, and we can change a little more the gradient, and let's try to render it again. Okay, so you see we have less light just in the middle. Okay, and we can use a little bit less spread. Actually, I think that we can transform this tip tutorial to let's use 75 to a mini tutorial, because we are spending too much time over it. And let's go back to the view, and let's use maybe a little bit more light. So let's go there, let's go over, let's use 35, and let's see if it's better or not. Obviously we have to change also the lighting inside the scene, so we can find a good compromise, maybe using 15. Let's render it. And then we can change maybe the exposure control to have more light inside the scene. Okay, and let's go inside the exposure control and let's set to 400. Let's make another test render, and you see that we have more light inside the scene. And we can add also more light there. So let's go to 100 and let's make it slower to become illuminated. And we can add also maybe more power to the global illumination. Let's try with 2. So we have automatically more illumination inside the scene. And that's our different area inside the software where you can work to change the look or to change how the lamp will work inside the rendering. So let's go again to maybe 3, just an area like that. Let's make a test. And you have to remember that for the final rendering you have to use the complete power for the light. So maybe we can use an either value for the lamp, 150, and let's make it like this one. And we have, I think, enough lighting inside the scene. Let's render also a preview, a complete preview, and let's use a different temperature, for example 15,000, and we are ready for the last rendering. And later you see, you know that you have just to change the final gather settings to obtain the final image. And you see that we have an interesting look there for the lamp. You can make it also more complex, but actually it can be okay for the preview. So that's all for this introduction to the self-illuminated mesh. And now I prepared the final image, and I hope to see you again on 3D Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Thanks.